the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Cowboys, your daily Dallas Cowboys podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Locked on Cowboys. Locked on Cowboys.
Welcome back to the Locked On Cowboys podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for tuning in. I am your host, Marcus Mosher. You can follow me on Twitter at Marcus_Mosher. And joining me today is Landon McCool. You can check him out on Twitter at McCoolBCB. You can also listen to him on the Best Coast Boys podcast. Landon, what is going on, sir?
Not much. We've made it through midpoint of week number 3 out from the draft. That's a weird way to count as the draft, but we have started to accelerate our mock drafts, accelerated our consumption. The Dane Brugler Beast came out today,
yes, go check that out on the Athletic. Yes,
lots of exciting stuff happening as we get closer and closer to the draft.
Yeah, so today we've got a special show for you. We're going to do a mock draft simulator. And if you're listening to the podcast version of this show, we're going to do our best to explain who's on the board. I highly, highly recommend that you go to the YouTube channel, Locked On Cowboys, to check it out. You can go to WFAA online. The video will be posted there as well. We're going to run through a scenario, Landon, and we're not going to do all 7 rounds because it just takes too much time. Instead, we're going to do the first 4 rounds of the draft. And actually, I have a specific scenario that I want to play out in the mock today. I tweeted this out a little bit before we came on the show, but history shows when the Cowboys have a top 50 pick, and let's say, in the second round, they tend to be very aggressive going to get their players. Last year, Trevon Diggs was somebody that they had graded as a first-round player, number 17 on their board. They tried to trade up to go get him. Didn't work out. He fell to them anyways. We've seen them trade up for Sean Lee. We've seen them trade up for DeMarcus Lawrence. They tried to trade up for Connor Williams, and that he eventually fell to them as well. So today's goal is to make our pick at number 10 and then sniff around some options at the end of round 1, beginning of round 2, to try to get another, let's say, a first-round caliber talent, right? And we can talk about some of those names when we get there. But let's go ahead and we're going to use the Pro Football Focus mock simulator. I'm going to go ahead and pull that up right now. So if you are watching, if you are watching this with us, you can see this nice simulator ahead of us. We're going to go ahead and get started with this mock. Any interest in trading up to number 1, Landon?
I have heard rumor that the Cowboys may be trading up to 4 for Kyle Pitts, which
stop it.
So, no.
All right, so we can go ahead and start this mock, and I'm assuming we're good with not trading up, just standing at number 10 and see who falls to us. Correct?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and run this mock. As you can see, if you're watching this on the YouTube channel, you can see the guys that are getting picked. Zach Wilson goes 2 to the Jets. Fields goes 3, Sewell 4 to the Falcons. Chase goes 5, Waddle goes 6, Devontae Smith 7, Kyle Pitts, the dream is dead, at 8, Trey Lance at 9, and then the Cowboys at number 10. I feel like this is a very realistic scenario, Landon. The Cowboys have a couple different options: Micah Parsons, Rashawn Slater, and then of course our guy Patrick Surtain. Is there any thought here at all to picking somebody other than Patrick Surtain?
I think Slater has to be considered, but I think that Surtain is the guy. I also think that if this scenario played out the way it did, our phone is ringing off the hook, I would imagine. I mean, I got to imagine that if Mac Jones is still available at 10, I'm assuming that we're going to get some calls to potentially trade down. I don't know if that's necessarily what we want to do in this mock draft scenario, but I just throwing that out, that if Mac Jones makes it to 10, it seems likely that would be an option as well. But I think for this purpose, I would say, Surtain's the pick for me. Slater obviously gets heavy consideration as well.
And I think because in this scenario, J.C. Horn is available as well, you might feel okay trading down to number 13 if needed, right? Like I could easily see a situation here, Landon, where let's say the Chargers sitting at 13 want to come up and get their left tackle and make sure that the Giants and the Eagles don't get it. I could see a small trade back like that, and you would still be guaranteed probably one of J.C. Horn or Patrick Surtain, right?
And the extra bonus of screwing the Eagles and the
Yes,
Giants.
we would love
I think
that.
that would be pretty
Yeah.
great. It's like that's a nice little bonus point there. So yeah,
Yes.
I mean, I would certainly be interested if the Chargers wanted to do that. They may try to turn around and screw us by taking Surtain and J.C. Horn, but
Sure.
I think it would probably still be worth it.
All right, so let's go ahead. And again, as we sit just over 3 weeks until the draft, I still feel like Patrick Surtain is the most realistic pick. So let's try to keep this realistic. We're going to make that pick, Patrick Surtain, at pick number 10. If that is the case, Landon, how excited are we about that selection after that draft?
Great. I mean, obviously, I think you said it, a couple weeks ago that if the Cowboys pick Surtain, it's hard not to like, a lot of what could happen for them the rest of the draft. Surtain is such a great fit, such a good player mixed at a position of need that it really would make the Cowboys defense, immediately better in a lot of different ways. And I think that's, one of the main goals you want to get coming out of the draft.
Yeah, I think it's just a home run pick. It makes the rest of the draft easier. And you're going to see that play out here in just a little bit, how much more open the draft is if the Cowboys go Patrick Surtain at number 10. Before we do that, though, I want to pause to tell you guys about BetOnline, the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your sports action. Football might be over, but we've got NBA, we've got the NHL, and MLB. They're all in full swing. BetOnline even covers awards, TV shows, and reality TV with real-time updated odds and props on almost anything you can imagine. BetOnline has you covered for all the news, scores, and odds. It's the best way to place your bets, and it's free to sign up. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just make sure you're using that promo code LOCKEDON. BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts. All right, Landon, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to play this draft, and we're going to stop when we get to about 25 and just kind of see some of the guys that are available, okay? So let's go ahead and run this draft. We have Caleb Farley goes to the Giants. Micah Parsons goes to the Eagles. Dershot goes to the Chargers. Mac Jones falls to the Patriots. Kwity Paye at 16. My Raiders take Rashawn Slater at 17. What a steal.
Ooh, what a pick.
Elijah Vera Tucker. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah goes to the Washington football team. We see, I believe, Trevon Moehrig go to the Colts. And we're going to stop right about here, okay? Sitting at pick 25, Landon, we still have several guys available that I think the Cowboys would be interested in. I'm going to name a couple. Xavier Collins, the linebacker from Tulsa, who we know they like, still there at pick number 25. Azeez Ojulari, the defensive end from Georgia, somebody that gives him some speed off the edge. Jamin Davis, the really speedy linebacker from Kentucky, still available. Any other guys that you think are interesting that could be options here if the Cowboys wanted to trade up?
I mean, personally, for me, Azeez Ojulari is the blinking light. Like, that's the guy for me. I mean, I know that they may prefer Xavier Collins or Jamin Davis, but I mean, I think Azeez Ojulari can be a really, really good pass rusher. And if you're adding, great lock him down cornerback and then a potential pass rusher of the future in this draft, I mean, that's a home run.
Well, then I agree. I think Ojulari is, if you consider the medical history, because I love Jalen Phillips, but just as a overall prospect, I think Ojulari is the best pass rusher in this draft. If he's available at 25, I think that's where you start considering going up. So as long as you're fine with it, let's throw out a trade to Jacksonville to see how realistic it is to get up to 25. Are you good with that?
Yeah, let's see.
All right. So Jacksonville has picked 25. Let's say Cowboys are going to offer pick 44, their second round pick 75, which is their first third round pick. And then you want to say our first fourth round pick. Does that make sense?
Yeah, let's see what they say about that.
All right, let's offer that trade. Jacksonville's thinking about it. Urban Meyer's weighing his options. They've got a ton of picks there. Is it worth?
He doesn't do a lot of trades in college, so he's not sure what the trade chart is.
Right. They accepted. Shocking.
Hooray.
There you go. So that we traded up. I'm actually kind of surprised. So again, we traded up to pick number 25, gave up number 44, number 75, and then number 115 to get up to number 25. And this is where it gets really interesting, Landon. We'll look at the board. Rashad Bateman, we're not going receiver. Elijah Moore, the top players available. Jason Owa, but the guy that we traded up for is Azeez Ojulari. And to me, this makes so much sense, right? DeMarcus Lawrence is getting a little bit older. Randy Gregory, he's in the final year of his contract. Behind those two guys, you really don't have a lot of proven depth. Ojulari, Landon, I don't know if you knew this, but he led the SEC in sacks, tackles for a loss, and forced fumbles last year at 20 years old, and he played a combined 375 snaps. Like I honestly think this is a guy that could be a double-digit sack player right away. There's nobody else we're considering here, right?
No, and I mean, like I said, yeah, like you mentioned all those stats. He was also second in the SEC again at 20 years old for tackles for loss, which is more than just sacks. It's tackling behind the line of scrimmage, and on top of that, you just don't see guys with his body style. I think he's going to be very difficult for offensive tackles because he is 6'2", 250-ish, but he has 34 and a half inch arms. And that's very rare for a guy who's 6'2". He's going to be very difficult for offensive tackles to get their hands on. I love this pick for us. And I think, again, this is a potential home run draft in the making right now.
Now, is there any thought of going like linebacker? Because, that's a spot where there's just a lot of uncertainty right now. We don't know about Jalen Smith's contract after this year. Leighton Vander Esch, it seems like, they're going to decline the 5th-year option. Are you interested at all in Jamin Davis or Zaven Collins?
I think you could get another starting level linebacker later in this draft or at any draft, to be honest, and feel good about it. So, I'm not worried about it.
So here would be my thing. And I think because we traded up this far, I think it's off the table. But if we got to pick, let's say 32 and Collins or Davis is on the board, I think that's when you start entertaining the idea of going up for one of those two players. But if you go all the way up to 25, you need to get somebody at a pretty high value position. And edge rushers are just more important than linebackers. It's just as simple as that.
Yep, I agree.
All right, so let's go ahead and make the pick. Azeez Ojulari is our pick here at number 25. And again, you come out of this draft with Patrick Surtain and Azeez Ojulari, and you still have pick 99. Listen, I don't want to say that we crushed this thing, but I think we crushed it.
But we're crushing this thing. Yeah. I think I'll say it. I don't have a problem. We're crushing this thing.
So let's kind of sit back and kind of reevaluate where we're at now. Again, we still have some other picks, pick 99. What are we looking to do in the rest of this draft? Are we looking to add a defensive tackle? Are you just going to take the best player available? Are we interested in moving up potentially again to go get another starter? What should be the goal now after getting Surtain and Ojulari?
I think at this point we kind of owe it to ourselves to wait and see what falls to us at 99. I mean, we did spend some capital to get up there. I don't necessarily want to waste a bunch more picks trying to go up and get something. I think at this point we can be patient and see what falls to us at 99.
All right, so we're going to let the simulator run. We got a long ways until we get picked 99, but that's okay. That gives me time to tell you guys about the best tasting protein bar on the market. That is Built Bar. It's so good. It's hard to even explain it. It's real chocolate with amazing flavors. It's just a great combination of low calories, high protein, and low sugar with no crazy additives. Best of all, they taste fantastic. I've already said that, but they do. I had one today for lunch, cookies and cream. One of my newer favorites. Not quite as good as the coconut brownie chunk. That's still at the very top of the power rankings. But cookies and cream, I highly recommend that you check it out.
I would trade up for cookies and cream. Just
there you go. There you go.
I would.
Go to BuiltBar.com and use promo code LOCKEDON15 and you'll get 15% off your next box at BuiltBar.com. All right, Landon, the simulator continues to go on, and we're seeing a lot of guys that we liked in the draft process go. Just for the sake of seeing what would have been available to the Cowboys at pick 44. It does seem like the names kind of dried up a little bit. Liam Eichenberg might have been the best player available, but ahead of that spot, you saw guys like Carlos Basham go off the board, Alex Leatherwood, Tyson Campbell, Zaven Collins went 31 to the Chiefs. That's not that surprising at all. Jason Owa goes 26 to the Browns. So I think we probably made a good trade to get up and get Ojulari because I don't think he would have lasted much longer. In hindsight, though, do you think we would have been better off waiting and going to pick 30 or 31 to get Zaven Collins, or do you think we made the better decision going up and get Ojulari?
I think we made the right decision. It looks like there was a little miniature edge rusher run right after we picked Ojulari. Again, I just have a hard time trading up for a linebacker. I mean, even a good linebacker like that. Okay, if you want to pick him at the bottom of the first or the mid to late part of the first round, I can get behind that argument because I think linebackers are underappreciated, especially in the analytics community. But I cannot. I don't think I can trade up for him. I think that's the kind of position you trade up for positions like edge rusher, cornerback, quarterback, offensive tackle.
All right. So here's the question that I kind of forgot to ask you. We traded up to 25 and we never thought about Jalen Phillips. So again, if you're just basing it on a tape and athleticism alone, I think he's a better player. Is that if you're only giving up, let's say, a second and third to go get Jalen Phillips, is that where you maybe start to weigh the risk versus reward?
I think it's tough. I mean, I like him as a player as much as I like Ojulari, but his injury history is scary. And it's to the point where he once retired from football at 20 years old or whatever because of concussions, and concussions are not exactly something that you heal from. So I like Ojulari a lot. I mean,
Jalen Phillips,
Jalen Phillips a lot, but I think that. Again, I would take the risk if he fell to me. I don't know that I would trade up.
That's fair.
To take that risk. I think that's scary.
All right, so we're sitting at pick 99. A lot of talented guys available in, and I think we're looking for somebody who can fill a role as a rookie. And I want to start at defensive tackle because it's a spot where the Cowboys are a little weak, and there's some really interesting guys available. Osa Odigizua is available, our guy from UCLA. Milton Williams, the athletic freak from Louisiana Tech. Tommy Togiai, a defensive tackle from Ohio State, is there. There's also Bobby Brown. So a lot of depth at defensive tackle. If we want to go over and look at a different spot at safety, Jamar Johnson, a safety that we're actually going to talk about, I believe, tomorrow is available. Outside of that, the safeties dry up pretty quickly. Any other spots you want to see here with talent-wise or defensive tackle, safety, where you're looking?
Frankly, I think we should probably have a discussion between Jamar Johnson and, look, Odigizua is, I love that kid. I'd have a hard time. The only issue is that, does he kind of play a position that you already have, right?
That's the thing is I feel like Togiai can come in and fill a role where Odigizua might be a little bit of the same as what you already have.
And I think for me, Togiai, I almost feel like you could wait on Togiai. See, I feel like you can wait at defensive tackle. When's our next pick? 90. So we're at 138.
So remember, we traded that initial fourth round pick to go up and get Ojulari. This is where I almost feel like if you want a defensive tackle, this is a spot to grab one.
Yeah,
I feel like we can find linebackers and safeties later.
I like Jamar Johnson here a lot because I think he has a rare skill set. We're going to talk about him on next week, but the issue is that you don't find a lot of ball hawk safeties, period. And second of all, in the third round, and the reason he's
that can't tackle.
Well, that's the rub, right? That's why he's in the third round.
Let me ask you this: Where do we think the Cowboys would go?
If we're doing that, I think Togiai is the pick.
Then I think we should do it.
Okay.
All right. And again, we traded.
It could be Milton Williams, honestly, but
it could be Milton Williams. Again, I would be fine with that. If you want to get somebody who is very, very athletic, that's an interesting one. So again, let's reset the draft for the people that are just tuning in. Patrick Surtain, Azeez Ojulari, and Tommy Togiai. I think the 2020 draft class just pales in comparison to this one, Landon.
Yeah, we're killing this, to be honest. We may have gotten 3 starters in our first 3 picks. It's pretty amazing.
But do you know the crazy thing is here? I don't feel like it's all that unrealistic. I think Ojulari is somebody who is probably going to go between pick 17 and 27, right? So having him fall to 25 isn't all that unrealistic at all. Right?
Absolutely not. And I think, look, if anything, Togiai wasn't even the highest rated defensive tackle on our board. So, getting him at 99 doesn't seem unrealistic at all.
And then obviously Patrick Surtain at number 10 is kind of a player that we've circled for a while. So the trade up is really the only thing here that's, questionable at all. And again, in terms of the value, if you look at like the draft value chart, we overpaid slightly, but I don't think that's something that Jacksonville would necessarily decline with all their, needs that they have on their team. Getting another top 100 pick is very interesting. All right, so we're in the bottom of the 4th round. Jamar Johnson's not going to be there, so we're not going to.
Okay, I was going to say,
and neither is Jamin Davis. So we're just going to cross those guys out.
By the way, Jamin Davis was available last pick, but we're just ignoring that because obviously he's not.
He's going to be a first rounder.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's look at some other positions. We talked about linebacker. The Cowboys need some help there. I don't love the guys here that are available. Justin Hilliard, KJ Britt, Riley Cole, Tuff Borland. It seems like you might want to just pass on that position.
Garrett. I like Garrett Wallow, but again, this is all way too early for those guys.
Okay, let's look at safety because that's another position that we kind of ignored so far in this draft. Again, not a lot of great names: Jamin Sherwood, Christian Uphoff, Tyree Gisby. Jacoby Stevens. Anybody here do anything for you?
Jamin Sherwood is interesting guy, but he's kind of a strong safety type.
Such an Auburn homer.
Oh, they got good football players. It's hard not to. I like him, but I don't think he's a fit for what we're trying to do, especially drafting at this high. So
you want to look at we can look at offense.
Let's look at offense. Let's see what we got.
All right, so I think wide receiver is a spot that the Cowboys very well could draft, and this is the spot they'll start looking at them, right? Jalen Darden is there from North Texas. I know a lot of the North Texas people will like that. Amari Rogers, Semi Foku from Stanford, Shai Smith, a really fun slot receiver from South Carolina. Anybody there do anything for you?
Jalen Darden's interesting. But let's see what else is available. Let's see what's at offensive tackle and tight end as well.
Okay, let's go ahead and move on to offensive, or let's move on to tight end because again, that's a spot I could easily see the Cowboys taking.
Oh, there's our pick right there.
He's still my heart. It's Tommy Tremble, the tight end from Notre Dame, who I expect to go a full round before this. But let's run to the podium real quick. I think we need to make this a perfect 10 out of 10. Let's take our guy Tommy Tremble.
Let's do it.
I don't even need to look anywhere else.
No, I'm done. I'm good.
Yeah. While you sip your coffee, let me tell you guys about Tommy Tremble. You haven't had the privilege to watch him. First and foremost, the best blocking tight end in the draft. I mean, just a phenomenal blocker. You could have him play as an H-back. You could have him play as a fullback in line. Just a devastating guy. I honestly believe if you want to have him play like in the Kyle Juszczyk role, he can do that and maybe be an even better version of that. I'm not saying he is this player, but I think he's got George Kittle-like traits. If you're getting that guy at the bottom of the 4th round, I love it. And again, I do think the Cowboys have a need for one of these players. Dalton Schultz is in the last year of his contract. Blake Jarwin isn't going to block you or I. And they cut Jameis Olawale this offseason. So you absolutely could find a role for Tommy Tremble year 1.
Absolutely. Tremble's only one of 3 tight ends I've watched so far this year, but I mean, I love him. His game is so fun, and yeah, I love those kind of tight ends so you can plug in and they can do a bunch of different stuff.
Yes,
and I think that's one of the most valuable things you can be as a tight end, is a guy who doesn't tip what your offense is going to do because you're on the field. So give me Tommy Tremble if he's available at 138. That would be. I mean, seriously.
My gosh.
B is a completely unfair grade for this draft. This is an A++ draft, guys, at the very minimum. Yeah,
Kyle Pitts at number 10 doesn't even register compared to Tommy Tremble at 138. Let me just tell you that. Overall haul: Patrick Surtain, Azeez Ojulari, Tommy Tagai, and Tommy Tremble. I love it, Landon. I'm so curious to hear what our listeners say. Maybe we should get promoted to being in the Cowboys war room.
Give me a call, Steven. Give me a call.
I know the number. Yeah. That's a story for
another time.
So yes, please leave your comments. Tell us what you think. Tweet us about this draft. We loved it. Again, the whole point of this draft was to show you how realistic a haul could look like if you take Patrick Surtain at number 10. Yep. and then trade up for a borderline first-round talent. I think you're going to absolutely love your draft, and I think your team is going to be better for it. That's it for today's show. Make sure you guys download, subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. You can follow the show on Twitter at Locked On Cowboys. You can follow Landon at McCool BCB, and I'm at Marcus _Mosher.